Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for another panel as part of Global Entrepreneurship Week. This is a fantastic week celebrated throughout the world. Like, the word global really means everywhere. I think it's over 25 countries throughout the United States, especially, really celebrating the importance of entrepreneurship and the impact that entrepreneurs make in everywhere from our everyday lives in our local community to globally, how entrepreneurs are changing the way we live our lives in positive ways and changing us as individuals. We're very excited to be a part of this week. Thank you for joining us, particularly for this panel. My name is Britton Merritt, and I'll be moderating today. And I'm the VP of Marketing at the Greater Arlington Chamber of Commerce, right here in the heart of Texas. Today we have two fantastic people with us that I'd love to introduce you to. We have Charletra Sharp from the Center for Transforming Lives, and we also have Jauneen Maldonado with Workforce Solutions of Tarrant County, and they are both lovely women that are incredibly passionate about this subject. So before I dive into questions with them and have you guys get to know them a little bit more, there are a few things I want you to be aware of. I'm going to throw myself under the bus for a moment and say that, when I used to think of an entrepreneur, I thought of some tech guy, making a mobile app. That is such a small view of what an entrepreneur can be. An entrepreneur is anyone that wants to create a business. That business could be a franchise. It could be a print shop. You don't have to be reinventing the wheel. You can use something that's existing and come up with your own unique selling proposition to create a business. And there are so many people in this world that create businesses because they're put in situations where they don't feel like they can succeed. So they create their own business to become, the captain of their own ship, so that they can be the driver of their own success, which is a beautiful and fantastic concept. So these two women that are here with us today help people that want to transform their skill sets and reskill themselves so that they can become entrepreneurs. They don't necessarily have to become an entrepreneur. They help with reskilling and retooling for any industry. But in this particular case, we're talking about entrepreneurship. And with that said, I'm gonna ask my first question here to Charletra. So Charletra, you are with the Center for Transforming Lives, and we know that it is in the title of what you guys do. You transform lives. So how do y'all in your nonprofit help aspiring entrepreneurs transform their lives by reskilling them to be the best entrepreneur that they could be?
Absolutely. Yes, transforming is what we do. In the Economic Mobility Department for the Center for Transforming Lives, we really help to provide that foundational support, particularly with a focus on women with young children who are using business as another way to generate income, because most of them, I'll say all of them, are not doing it for luxury. It's something that they're required to do to meet their financial obligations. And so we not only provide micro enterprise technical assistance, which is very foundational information about how to create the legal structure, open a business checking account. We do this through cohort-based classes over a 6-week period. But in addition to the cohort work that we do, we also provide them one-on-one financial counseling or financial coaching, and business coaching, because we recognize that all of them will have to be the personal guarantor for anything that they do in business. And so if they don't have a strong personal financial health, of course, it's going to impact their business financial health. And we don't just stop there. Our whole intent is to not duplicate the services that already exist, but we're here to use our trusted relationships to create a pipeline to the existing business resource partners. So just really helping navigate. It's a different way to think of case management, but just really being intentional about financial prosperity. We are the navigators. We help them to feel empowered and just equipped to engage in the conversations and the resources that will help them to have sustainable businesses.
that is such a fantastic purpose that you bring and help people find that in themselves. We are so incredibly fortunate to have a nonprofit like Center for Transforming Lives doing that. So thank you for your service to our community. And I know we're going to learn a lot more throughout this webinar. So stay tuned, everybody. The next wonderful lady we have with us today is Jauneen Maldonado with Workforce Solutions for Tarrant County. And I know that Jauneen and I could sit here all day and talk about the million things that Workforce Solutions does for Tarrant County and our community. They are, if you are looking for something that you just want to learn more about, go read about Workforce Solutions. They are so underrated in terms of what people know about them and the vast impact they make in Tarrant County specifically. And we are incredibly fortunate to have them working on our behalf every day. And they do so much in the reskilling department to help people that have either lost a job and are looking to change jobs for the better and change, complete areas of which they work. They also help people find jobs and help people connect with resources throughout the county. But specifically today, as we noted, we're talking about entrepreneurs. So we know that a lot of people have had an impact in their lives especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, where they lost a job. And a lot of those people during that time got very motivated to start their own business. And I know that most of them went to people like Workforce Solutions for Tarrant County to learn how to be successful. So Jauneen, talk to us a little bit about, like I said, we could do this for an hour. So give us an overview in a few minutes of how Workforce Solutions of Tarrant County is really helping people make a change for the better and become an entrepreneur.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on this call today. I'm really happy to share what we have going on. I'm going to speak really specific to adult education and literacy because that is my department and that's my world and my bubble. Like Charletra, we definitely provide services out to the community for different types of participants or individuals that share some barriers and have some really serious home issues and things going on that might have kept them from being successful in the past. And we're just looking for ways to help them be successful now. We provide both education and training to participants in Tarrant County. One of the things that we did prior to the pandemic was developed an entrepreneurship academy. Our entrepreneurship academy was extremely successful. It was in partnership with Tarrant County College. Our participants were able to actually attend the academy on the campus, the Tarrant County College campus, and have the experience of the campus life in the sense that they were attending classes and receiving benefits. So in the entrepreneurship realm, what we're able to do is not only assist them with becoming a successful entrepreneur. As you know, many of the participants that we're serving out in the county, in Tarrant County, have been operating their own business for some time, but maybe not at the full capacity that they can. Or maybe some of them are working for others and they think, I could really be doing this for myself. So we really wanted to be that catapult for them, that location that they could come to and start to develop some of the skills necessary to be successful so they could operate their own business. What we do is we provide not only the training for that, but we also provide the wraparound services and barrier removal. As Charletra said, there's just a lot of barriers that come, of course, childcare being the biggest one. And as you know, with the pandemic, that really did throw some people into some major changes in their life because now they have children at home. They can't get up and go to work, or maybe they're just not physically able to be in an in-person environment. So they had to really rethink what their life is looking like. So definitely it has had an impact and an effect on the number of entrepreneurs that we're seeing seek out our program. We did have to put the academy on hold temporarily because of the pandemic and are looking to get that ramped back up depending on how we come out of this pandemic. So I can share with you today, I know we're going to talk later a bit more in depth, and I'll share with you like some of that content. And we're definitely looking at bringing that back and improving, some of the content.
Well, and how fantastic an entrepreneurship academy. That just sounds cool. Like no other way to say it. We're again, the resources that your two nonprofits bring alone are just vital to our ecosystem, especially for entrepreneurs. We're incredibly grateful for what y'all do. Charletra, I want to come back to you and hit on a little bit more of what Jauneen was talking about in terms of barriers to enter, and maybe just challenges people face as to why they end up turning to be an entrepreneur, because we know that's really where y'all focus. Can you talk a little bit more about why being an entrepreneur isn't necessarily a choice you make because you're like, I invented something. It's something that makes sense for you and your family. So let's talk a little bit about those barriers.
Yes. So what's not uncommon for Center for Transforming Lives is to work with a female who is a mother and the single parent in her household with young children, typically 2 or more. And so with that, if you have school-age children and also you're the breadwinner of the home, you typically need a more flexible schedule. It's possible that you also may be responsible for caring for your parents or have other responsibilities. And you also do have a full-time job. And so many of our participants work a full-time job, are the sole caregiver for their children and possibly others. And what they're making in their 10 to 8, 12 to 8 job is not enough to, again, meet their financial obligations. And so typically what happens is they look into their box of skills and say, what can I do? And what can I do quickly that has minimum overhead to be able to generate income? And so for some, that's cleaning. For others, that's baking cakes. For others, that's using a Cricut to design some cool t-shirts and tumblers. And so what we look at is saying, okay, you've already started doing this. But unfortunately, what we saw through the pandemic is that if you have not registered your business, filed taxes, you don't qualify for some of these resources. So how do we make you a bona fide entrepreneur so that you can access these other resources? But then how do we also address other barriers, right? So not only the barriers to access resources as a business person, but also how do we help you find drop-in childcare? You know, how do we provide childcare for you while the workshops are going? So we provide all of our sessions virtually. But even when they, excuse me, even when they're in person, we make sure that we're taking care of the children while the parent is in class. We also look at, do you need gas? So we give gas cards. We look at, do you need clinical counseling? Because there are other issues that are going on that you're not fortunate enough to say, let me stop and focus on my mental health. I still have to generate income. So we also address those type of challenges and even look at providing alternative capital resources. So if you need funding to, get you a computer so that you can actually take advantage of technology resources, then we are often able to help those individuals as well, as long as they're actively engaging in our program.
I think that everything you said is so important. So I hope people are just retaining this information like a camel retains water in the desert. It is all important. And you brought up something that I think is really important, which is going to tie into my question for Jauneen. And we can talk a little bit more about your Entrepreneurship Academy, but there are so many people that are entrepreneurs but don't know it. Like Charletra was saying, they run a small business on the side. They make t-shirts, they make macaroons for their friends. You can have a great skill, but that doesn't mean you know how to set up and start a business. Those are two very different things. So talk to us a little bit about how Workforce Solutions helps people take the steps to understand that I have a skill, but how do I make that skill an actual viable business that can file for tax credits or those kinds of things? I know there's a million different pieces to it, and I don't claim to be an expert by any means. So how is Workforce Solutions helping people in that space?
Yeah, so a lot of the students or participants that we're serving are actually adult ed students. They're coming for their high school equivalency, or they're coming for English language acquisition. And we have a lot of ESL as a second language students that come from other countries, and they have these skills and they're out there doing these jobs and utilizing their skills. and they're operating maybe out of their home or operating, under someone else. And like you said, just because they have the skill and they're able to provide those skills, the management piece is an issue, right? So one of the things that we do in our Entrepreneurship Academy is really focus on how do we help you not only be a great business owner, but also how do we help you grow? How do we help you expand? Because a lot of times they're so wrapped up in daily activities and just keeping everything afloat that they don't know, where do I go to get those additional funds that grants that are out there and the funds that are available so that I can expand and become bigger, right? And do more. So that's definitely one of the things that we do. Part of the Entrepreneurship Academy is to provide them with some of those bookkeeping skills, some of those management skills that they need. We teach them about the legal considerations that's involved in, becoming a business owner. We help them to make those connections, of course, to, the Small Business Association and then to other organizations. Like we mentor with them through SCORE, provide them with a mentor that's able to help them and assist them from day one. One of the things that really has been helpful for our participants in the Entrepreneurship Academy is they walk out with a business plan, but not just a business plan that they created, but one that they can actively continue to use and go back and revise as needed. We teach them how to apply for grants out there, to help them to grow. So definitely by just bringing in those skills that maybe some of us might think are basic skills, those are the areas that we really focus on to help them grow and become bigger and better. Of course, our goal is for them to be financially sustainable. We want them to be able to take care of their families and grow and become bigger. So that's definitely our goal. And I really pride ourselves in the fact that with our entrepreneurship, many of you might not know it, but there's not really a industry recognized credential with entrepreneurship. So there's not really something you can go out there and take a test and you have this credential and now you're officially an entrepreneur, right? So what we did was we brought to the table some credentials that we thought would be helpful in entrepreneurship, such as the QuickBooks, so they can get a QuickBooks credential or a Microsoft Office specialist credential, something that's going to help them in their current business and help them to grow, but also have that industry recognized credential that down the road might help them to remain sustainable. So.
What a fantastic answer. And you brought up something vital that I am so frustrated with myself. I didn't bring it up earlier. So thank you. Is that there are these two wonderful women that represent two wonderful organizations, do great things, but there are so many resources available to you as well. And I know both of them work hand in hand. The SBA is the Small Business Administration. Part of the SBA is the SBDC. The Small Business Development Centers exist throughout Tarrant County. There's a lovely person actually here in the chamber office that works for SBDC that help answer those questions of how do I get funding? How do I finish out my business plan or develop? And SCORE is another one, SCORE Fort Worth. I don't actually know what SCORE stands for, to be 100% transparent, but it's an amazing resource to help any small business. And throughout the pandemic, we worked with them to make sure that we were bringing information to people on how to apply for PPP loans and how to apply for EIDL, the economic injury development loans. Disaster, not development, economic injury disaster loans. Those are just a few of the resources that I know these two wonderful organizations work with to help you grow. And I'm also going to go on one more small rant before I come to you, Charletra, so forgive me, is that these two organizations provide something that also is something like a chamber provides. A chamber, it does cost money, but our hope is that the minimal fee you pay ends up paying off triple by the relationships you build. Success in small business really comes from finding other small businesses to help each other. As a small business owner, if maybe understanding accounting as you grow isn't something that's your skill set, find another small business that is good at that and support them, and they'll support your business and build your network. and talk to people. Never be afraid to ask for help. Always know that there are a million small businesses make up what I think the statistic is 96% of all businesses in the United States. Somebody is a small business owner in your circle, and everybody is struggling in their own way. So share your story, ask for help, go to these resources. And maybe you're afraid to start a small business. Maybe you're sitting here watching this going, man, I always thought I would be an entrepreneur. I'm just afraid of how to get started. Go to these wonderful people. Go to SBA, go to SBDC, go to SCORE, as well as, like I said, Workforce Solutions and Center for Transforming Lives. They will help you reskill and transform and help you become the entrepreneur you always wanted to be if you've been afraid to take that step. So sorry for my rant. Forgive me, ladies. But it is important that we talk about how you can build your network there. So Charletra, I want to come back to you with the Center for Transforming Lives. We've talked a lot about the big overview, the forest, but let's talk about the trees. What specific programs do y'all have going on that if maybe I'm sitting at home nervous about my entrepreneur or my business, or I'm not sure where to go, why should I come to Center for Transforming Lives? What programs are a resource to me there?
Yes. So I'll give the shameless plug. As an agency, we offer more than what's just in my department. We also have child development centers throughout Tarrant County. We have comprehensive homeless services. We also have clinical services, as I mentioned earlier, and then economic mobility services, which is the department that I oversee. And in addition to our Level Up Micro Enterprise program, we provide financial coaching and financial education. And through financial coaching, it just opens up so much other opportunities. I mentioned earlier that every Level Up participant, which is the name of our small business program, every participant also has a financial coach, and they have access to credit improvement products, such as a program called Save to Build. And with participants in that program, we've saw that the average participant, their credit increases by 93 points. And that's just from working through a coach. And we have saw that they achieve at least one of 4 financial statement goals if they meet with the coach 4 times. And so that's whether they want to increase their income, increase their savings, reduce their debt, or improve their credit score. And so Level Up is perfect for that individual that says, I'm doing this from home, this business, or maybe it's something that I'm even renting space at a co-working space, but I just really need some hand-holding, so to speak, and some encouragement to walk through this process. I don't really understand the components of a business plan, but I know I'm making some money off of this, and I also have other barriers that typically disqualify me because either I'm not able to physically attend the meeting, or I don't have a babysitter, or I don't have the money to afford the program. Then I usually say that's the best candidate. Like, if you answer all of the questions perfect when it comes to an entrepreneur, you're probably not the best fit for us. The one that says, like, I really don't even know what that means, you're probably the one that we are targeting. And so we really, we focus on serving all of Tarrant County. We have some very unique resources specifically for Arlington residents, including a business grant for those that meet the income requirements. And then, as I mentioned, we provide comprehensive services. And so once you become a participant with Center for Transforming Lives, it opens up the doors for any other resources that are identified in your customized plan. And it's even a successful outcome if you recognize through the program that you really don't want to be an entrepreneur. And then we refer you to our career coach and say, okay, how do we develop a pathway for you to move into the industry that you are really passionate about? So, it's the sky is the limit. and we're here to help because we want families to be healthy. We recognize that there is a cycle of financial and emotional well-being for all family systems, and one generation affects the next. So we try to intervene to be able to help to continue healthy or develop healthy ones.
How powerful. That's so amazing. And I mean, I could reiterate all day how important these organizations are, y'all, and what impact they make in our community. So Jauneen, same question to you. And I know you hit on some of them at the beginning, but I really want to reiterate, looking at the trees, not the whole forest, what services, because we know, well, and you couldn't even hit all of them if I gave you an hour. There are so many. But what services in terms of when we focus on, we're looking specifically in the entrepreneurship space, what services are provided by Workforce Solutions or are available to people, and who would you recommend to come to you guys for help?
Well, first of all, just let me say, Britton, absolutely would take us probably a half a day to go through everything that we have to offer here at Workforce Solutions for Tarrant County. But I will say, much like Charletra, we have a lot of barrier removal, a lot of resources to help with, again, not just the education piece, but training itself. And that barrier removal includes, of course, the big one, childcare, transportation, gas cards, rental assistance, just things that happen in life in general, right? That might put a stop to what we're trying to do. So anybody in Tarrant County that is up against some type of a challenge or something going on in their lives, I would definitely say reach out. There's resources there to help. As far as for the entrepreneurship, we share training dollars. So we do have money to provide those skills and upskilling that's needed in order to become, a better entrepreneur, or even just to start your entrepreneurship. And then at the point, like Charletra was talking about, that they decide maybe they really don't want to be an entrepreneur, we again will help them as they do get on a career pathway, provide, that training and the track that they need in order to get onto that career pathway into whatever industry it is that they're looking for. We also have an amazing business services department that would be able to connect with employers and different kinds of job fairs and just networking. I want to go back to that wonderful word you used, Britton, about networking. It's so important to be out there and get your network and make sure that you're connected to those people that are going to support you or answer questions on the fly, or just really in general be there for you throughout the process. So that's definitely, some of the major services. Childcare, of course, we have childcare dollars, and we serve a large childcare population. And then we do a lot of financial literacy. We do financial literacy and digital literacy, which is huge in the pandemic era that we're in right now. We have a lot of people out there that just have that digital gap, right? They're not able to even get on the computer, let alone to navigate it. So we have a lot of resources. We have a lot of services that we can provide. Again, I could probably just go on and on, but specific to entrepreneurship, I just want to say that we really kind of tried to get this up and going, provide the support and the trainings for entrepreneurship prior to the pandemic, actually a couple of years prior to the pandemic starting, and have developed some really good partnerships with some resources and supports, Hispanic chambers, and just different entities and outreach resources that would help regardless of what walk of life you come from or what your actual barriers are.
And thank you so much for everything that you do. I'm just going to keep saying thank you, because we need the nonprofit people of the world, y'all. They don't necessarily make the most money. They aren't out there for that. They're out to make an impact. And it's something you just have to be passionate about. And we're so lucky to have people like Jauneen, like Charletra, and the organizations they work for, that they're here because they care about making the community better. And we just could not be more fortunate in Tarrant County to have people like that. So I am going to ask you to put on a different hat, if you will, or, with your organization hat on, looking at the bigger picture. Just in general, let's look at this. Why is it important? I mean, just as a simple question, why is it important to reskill and upskill workers and to help them transform their lives? How is this impacting our economy? I know I could go on a rant about this, but I am the moderator. So I want to ask y'all, and Jauneen, I'll actually go to you first on this one. Why should we do this? Why is this important?
Well, the reskilling and the upskilling that is so immensely important right now is allowing for us to kind of address those skills gaps that we have, as well as open up some of those entry-level positions and make available an available backfilling, if you may, of positions. It's really important for our businesses and our employers. We do workplace literacy programs, which is we provide services on site at the employer. And right now we're working with some pretty big employers. There's two issues going on. One of them is they're not able to hire enough staff, right? There's just not enough of a workplace pool out there. I'm sorry. And so we're looking for ways like, how do we attract people to these employers? How do they make themselves more valuable than their neighbor? How do they retain some really valuable and skilled employees? And so upskilling is a big piece of that, right? So what we do is provide those trainings for those skills that allow for them to be promoted within the company, and therefore they're retained in the company. And then we offer, of course, some of our other services like credential training, or we offer our language, our ESL, English as a second language. And these are some free services that they're able to go out and recruit for employees and say, you could work for any organization, but we offer these free classes for you. And so it just makes the employer a little bit more attractive to allow them to fill those positions. So I think that it's really important to continue to upskill. And that's speaking on the employer side of the house, but coming from my heart, I'll tell you, for the participants, it's extremely important to continue that education piece, right? That training piece. We need to continue to build their skills so that they can just not, it isn't just a sense of them making it from paycheck to paycheck. We want them to have skills that makes them truly self-sufficient and makes them able to do more for their families and provide more and do better. So definitely with the upskilling, I think that's important for our community participants, our community partners to all get on board with, because I don't think we should ever stop learning, any of us. I think we all should be upskilling, honestly. So yeah, definitely. I think that that's really important for us to do that. And again, just strengthen our workforce. We really need to have a stronger workforce and a more skilled workforce.
I agree with you tenfold. I'm a firm believer that everyone should live their life like they're on a treadmill. If you're standing still, you're going to fall off. So you got to keep moving forward, got to keep learning, got to keep challenging yourself. And whether you're an entrepreneur or you're hired by a company, there's a fantastic phrase called intrapreneur, which is someone that has an entrepreneur mindset that works from within a company to help them grow and do new things they never saw their company doing and expanding in different places. So learning that entrepreneurial, oh, that's a difficult word, entrepreneurial mindset is so important because it benefits you no matter where you end up in the long run. You can start a small business that maybe potentially gets bought by somebody and is super successful, and then you move to help other small businesses do the same thing from within. So thank you for that insight. And it is so important that we reskill our workforce. One person moves to the North Texas region, so not Tarrant County, but all of North Texas, the 9-county area that is North Texas. One person moves here every 4 minutes, y'all.
That's crazy.
They don't bring water and they don't bring roads, but they also might need reskilling for the jobs that are here. And we have a lot of companies that bring jobs here that are totally new. I mean, think about, if you think of the Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington metropolitan area, 30 years ago, tech jobs weren't here. And look at how much we've grown. We're the fourth fastest growing, or the fourth largest region in the United States, which is insane. It's, New York, LA, Chicago, and us, man, we're hanging out in the top 4. So there's so much that's happening here that people have to be reskilled. So Charletra, same question. Sorry again for the rant. I'm all about it. I really support this topic, y'all. It's so important. Just from a standpoint of looking at the greater good in everybody in our community, why is it so important that we upskill and train our workforce to be entrepreneurs, or just to go out and be successful in general?
No, I'm really glad you asked that question because it reminded me that this time last year, the Center for Transforming Lives was able to launch our Transform Tarrant County from Within report. We launched it during Global Entrepreneurship Week, and it was designed specifically on how to strengthen the small business ecosystem for underserved entrepreneurs. And so we recognized before the pandemic, and then it was exacerbated during the pandemic, the disparities that exist with underserved populations, particularly when you look at Blacks and Hispanics, and then of course women. When you look at those gender inequities, and I actually have the report sitting here on my desk, and I was looking at a stat that says, based on research, people within underserved demographics represent a potential surplus of $21 billion and 25,000 jobs in Tarrant County.
Wow.
In Tarrant County, $21 billion and 25,000 jobs. And that's just underserved demographics. And so when you say like, why would we do this? It's because there is so much low-hanging fruit and potential in the areas that aren't maximized because of their lack of access to either capital, whether that's social or physical capital, to coaching and to education. And so we've been very intentional to provide those three through our cohort-based program. But we recognize that other ecosystem builders, other business resource partners have to be a part of this movement to be able to affect policy, to affect the ecosystem infrastructure, to increase the wraparound services, to increase market access. And like I even mentioned, the capital opportunities. So we saw, through that report that there were 6 essential elements that were necessary. Most elements exist in small business ecosystems, but typically wraparound services are missing. And that's what we bring to the table as an organization, is looking at not only financial health and behavioral health, and even as Jauneen does with her organization, the child care and the transportation and things like that. And so all stakeholders need to be on board and not working siloed, but in a coordinated way so that we can really move the needle. So I'm so glad. That was like the perfect question, because it gave me the opportunity to just really reflect on that report and just the roadmap of how to move forward, and just how much more we need to be intentional at looking at folks that are using business as a way to generate more income, and let people know that they're an entrepreneur. My grandma didn't know she was an entrepreneur. She just knew how to do taxes, and she was a florist, and she was cleaning people's houses, and she was cooking. She was just doing what she knew how to do. But when you call a person an entrepreneur, then they start pursuing resources that will build them as an entrepreneur. Sometimes you don't move in a certain way until someone calls you that. And so we need to start calling people, what the potential that we see in them, and make the resources available. I'm passionate, so.
I want to put that in quotes on like a poster. Until somebody calls you that, you don't necessarily determine your direction.
Sometimes people get called things, right? And there's a lot of names that people are getting called that they shouldn't be getting called, and they're operating in those ways, right? And so we need to call them names that are empowering and prophetic, and that really inspires them to do something different beyond this generation.
I think that's so important. So I'm going to challenge anybody watching today, and to share this with your friends as well. But if you know somebody who is an entrepreneur, is running a business, is doing something out of their house, is doing something online, and use that empowering word, call them an entrepreneur, remind them there are resources out there for entrepreneurs to enable them to be successful. They might call it their side hustle or a side gig, but it could be something that grows into so much more. So empower them to make the best out of that, and to grow themselves, and to learn more about themselves. I am Charletra. That was amazing. It brought me so much joy. Y'all, I mentioned earlier that 96% of businesses in the United States are small businesses. Small businesses employ nearly 50% of all Americans, or eligible Americans in the workforce. We'll call it that. Your friends, your family, your neighbors, the people that are the friends and family of neighbors, the people you work with. Small businesses are vital, and small businesses start from a dream and from an entrepreneur that Steve Jobs started out of a garage. Think about how many businesses started out of a garage. I mean, like they're all tech companies when we think about them, but like that's a home business that grew into something huge. Very few people are going to turn into the next Apple, but to be successful and to have happiness in your life and to feel like you are the captain of your own ship, just to come full circle back to my beginning, you may not need to be that. You just want to be successful to enable happiness in your family and friend group and bring the people in your local community joy and a job that makes them happy. As an entrepreneur, you may employ somebody to the best job they've ever had. And how awesome is that to bring it to where you are empowering someone to be employed and make an impact in their life. And you're upskilling them by bringing them into your job. And you can connect them with these resources as well. Mm-hmm. This has been such a wonderful panel. I'm just like so much joy in my heart right now. Before we wrap up, I want to ask each of you if there's anything else you'd like to say to, let's say there's somebody watching today that just isn't sure if they're ready to take that leap of faith to see themselves as an entrepreneur. What would you say to them to empower them to say, yes, you can do this, and here are some resources to help? Jauneen, you first.
I would just say that if you really feel like that's what you want to do and you have it in your heart to be an entrepreneur, or even if you just think you might want to do it, just do it, jump on it. I mean, we have just survived through a pandemic. We're not out of the woods yet, but if anything, this has taught me personally, I will say that life is precious and time is very short and precious. So don't waste your time wondering if you can. There's so many resources out there and so much support. Definitely reach out to, I'll put a shameless plug for Workforce Solutions for Tarrant County, and we have a phone number that you can call and you can reach out. Just be very upfront about what your needs are. We have people that answer the phones as soon as you call, and you can just let them know what it is you're looking for, and they're going to point you in the right direction. I know that Charletra's organization does an amazing job of support and has a lot of services available too. And so I would definitely say, reach out to one of us. Let us know what it is that we can do to help. Reach out to your chambers. Network. Like, I just think the biggest thing is networking, getting out there and knowing other people that are in your same shoes, that are feeling the same, feelings that you have, or anxiety, or maybe they're not sure either. Just getting out there with other individuals. I do know, working with Arlington Public Library, which is one of our providers, they had a very strong and do have a very strong partnership with UTA campus. So the UTA campus has a center on there for entrepreneurs, and you go in and they're doing once a week, they'll have businesses come in and talk to people about the different, industries and businesses and challenges. So try to look for some of those organizations or those opportunities that you can reach out to and become part of, and then just go from there and network.
I love that. And that believe in yourself and time is precious. It's so true. And I'm so happy you brought up UTA. UTA we're still in pandemic. So post lockdown opened up the UTA Center for Entrepreneurship and Economic Impact. Entrepreneurship drives so much economic impact that they made that the whole name, because entrepreneurship, it makes such a difference in local economy. It is so important. And if you need connection to that, it's again UTA's Center for Entrepreneurship and Economic Impact. And thank you. So Charletra, kicking it to you, same question. If there's somebody watching right now that just maybe needs that one piece of motivation to make that leap of faith, what would you say to somebody who's questioning whether they should be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I would just say go for no, right? Like you're less likely to get a no from others when you start talking about what you're interested in. It's actually hard. Some people are going to say, well, here's how you can do it, and here's how we can help, and things like that. So I would encourage them to start talking about whatever that idea is. And it's risk-free. by starting to talk about it, they can sign up online for a SCORE mentor with it, which it could be, a retired executive or an entrepreneur that can help them think through what they're interested in. They can sign up online for an advisor with the Small Business Development Center. I'll piggyback after Jauneen and say they can contact Center for Transforming Lives by emailing us at EMS for Economic Mobility Services, EMS@transforminglives.org. And we can help, see what that looks like for them in their journey. But I say start by getting some accountability. And you get that accountability by letting someone else know what you're even thinking about. And as you get through that process, you'll either see if that was just a random thought for the day, or if there's really some passion there that gives you the energy to do more. So find you some accountability somewhere so that you don't let that fire die out, if it really is supposed to be a flame that needs to be passed on to others.
Such powerful messages from both of you. I mean, just Wonder Women. I don't know if that's like copy written from a women plural standpoint.
Right.
But we are so lucky to have people like you here in Tarrant County. And you know what? Thank you to each of you watching this today, because it is so important to invest in yourself and to continue that education like we hit on earlier. So by joining us for this GEW panel and continuing to play a role in Global Entrepreneurship Week, you're investing in yourself and your community and looking for a brighter future. We are so, again, fortunate to live in a community that really passionately cares about enabling entrepreneurship and continuing entrepreneurship and supporting small businesses. So we really appreciate each of you. Again, Charletra, Jauneen, thank you so much for today. You've been truly delightful. And each of you, we hope you have a lovely rest of Global Entrepreneurship Week. Have a great day.